changed when I implemented these 4 SDR daily prospecting checklists. I went from an SDR who was struggling to consistently build pipeline and book meetings to a full calendar with qualified prospects, crushing my SDR KPIs and my quota. I am not a sales guru, so I cannot guarantee that if you do implement these checklists and strategies and tactics on a daily basis, that you will promote quickly from an SDR to an account executive, but I can guarantee that you should be doing much better than most SDRs on your team and in your division. All right, here's our table of contents, what we're gonna cover in today's video. First, we have a cold email checklist to review before you hit send. Examples and templates are included. Next, we have a cold call checklist with my favorite framework you could steal to help you book more conversations off your cold calls. We then have a LinkedIn prospecting checklist with 2 tactics 99% of SDRs are not using today, that if you use them, you're immediately gonna stick out, stand out, and book more conversations in the DMs of your prospects. And if you stick around to the end of the video, we have a bonus checklist focused on reflection and accountability. Before you hit send, a cold email checklist, structure and substance. A short subject line, 1 to 3 words, all lowercase. Some of my favorite structures or frameworks for subject lines. Start with your name drop. 1 problem, open a loop, avoid. Most of my cold emails are written with one of these 5 subject lines. And the whole goal of these subject lines is to simply build curiosity and get the prospect to click open on the email. My favorite cold email subject line of all time from Josh Braun is the triplet. Expected trait plus expected trait plus unexpected trait. In this example here, iPhones and Verizon, those 2 traits go together. My girlfriend. What does my girlfriend have to do with iPhones and Verizon? That's what the prospect is going to be thinking. And because they're thinking of that, that builds curiosity and they will click open on the cold email. It's important to note, if you use a cold email subject line like the triplet, in the cold email, you need to tie all 3 of those traits, all 3 of those elements together nicely in the email. So if you can't do that, do not use this cold email subject line. But this, I would say, guys, is my favorite cold email subject line of all time, and it has my highest open rate when I send cold emails to prospects. Now, there are 4 elements of a great cold email. I'm gonna run through these 4 elements and then share you an example of a cold email I sent recently that booked a meeting with a prospect following this structure. First, observation in the first line. An observation can be made about the prospect or the company. Next, tie that observation to a challenge they might have. This is key. If you can't tie that personalization, that observation, to a challenge they might have that your product solves, it's gonna come across cheesy. It has to tie in. That is key. Third, offer a perspective of a better way. And then fourth, and this is super important, end the cold email with an interest-based low-friction CTA, call to action. You're never going to ask for time in your cold emails. You're only going to ask for interest, because when asking for interest in a cold email, that increases your reply rates when you send a cold email to a prospect. Here's an example of a cold email I sent recently to a prospect that booked a meeting following this structure. As you can see here, the first line is an observation I made on the company website. There's 97 new job openings. They're growing quite a bit. This second line ties that observation of growth to a potential problem they might have. The third line is a short statement solving that challenge, a better way of doing things, and then I end that cold email open to learning more. Again, that's going for interest, not for time. And another key here, if you can, on all of your cold emails, include a PS that's something personal about something you found on the prospect. Maybe it was on their Facebook, their Twitter, their LinkedIn, their Instagram. Add that in there, because that's gonna drive home, hey, this email was not written by a robot. This email was not blasted out to hundreds of people. This email was sent specifically to you. Style, as little I, we, our language as possible. So as you're reviewing your cold email, if you see any of those words, rewrite that cold email. That is you-focused language, not prospect-focused language. They don't care about you. Write to them. Zero jargon, big words. Too many cold emails are written with all these big words that the salesperson does not even understand. And if they don't understand it, the prospect certainly is not going to understand it. Your cold emails need to be understood by a 5th grader, by your grandmother. If they can't understand it, do not hit send. Written how I speak. Use words that you would use. Write an email like you would send to your friend, your brother, your dad. The people we're sending cold emails to, remember guys, they're humans just like us. Professional tone but not formal, lots of white space, no big chunks of text, and ideally 50 to 120 words max. You really want to keep it less than 100 if possible. Before you dial, a cold calling checklist. The list, super important. Calling our ICP, ideal customer profile. Are we calling people that look like our best customers, that look like a potential customer? If not, why are we calling those people? Why are we calling an industry that we've never closed a deal in? That is a complete waste of time. Always call your ICP. Valid numbers for prospects, ideally mobile numbers. It's 2024. This is a hot take. Get ready for it. I think it's a complete waste of time if you're not calling mobile numbers. Segment your list. Geography, titles, industry. This has happened so many times in the past, guys. I started a cold call block. I didn't segment my list. It's 8 a.m. Eastern, and I'm calling people on the West Coast. And I'm waking them up because I'm calling their cell phone numbers. They're pissed off at me. They're blocking my number. I never have a chance to prospect them again. Segment and organize your list. Review notes in CRM on contacts. That's obvious. Goals. Duration of call block. No distractions. Uninterrupted. The only way, or the most effective way to make cold calls is to do them in dedicated time blocks. The only thing I'm doing in these 30 minutes, the only thing I'm doing in this hour time block is making cold calls. Number of dials. How many dials am I gonna make today? And I'm committed to that number. I'm not closing my computer until I make that number of dials. How many calls am I committing to in this time block? Have those numbers known. Number of positive conversations. That could be number of meetings, and it also doesn't need to result in a meeting. Maybe I call a prospect and they tell me, hey Matt, I'm not the right person, but they're willing to have a conversation on that cold call and provide me some intel as to how I could sell into the account, into their company. That is a positive conversation. Your framework, a PBO, permission-based opener. If you've been following the channel for some time now, you know that I am a huge fan of opening the call the right way using a permission-based opener. This is the permission-based opener I've used over the last 3 to 4 years, which results in 80% of prospects giving me permission to proceed with my reason for the call. Chris, thanks for taking the call. Listen, Chris, you're probably gonna hate me for this. This is actually a cold call. Do you wanna hang up or can I steal 30 seconds to tell you why I called? Again, 80% of prospects gave me permission to proceed with the reason for the call. Which brings us to the next point. You need a strong reason for the call. Why are you calling this person specifically? Why are you calling into this company? If you don't have a strong reason, there's no reason why you should be calling. Here is a strong reason structure that I would have used over the last couple years to kick off that conversation the right way. Now, is this gonna lead to a conversation or a meeting booked every single time? Absolutely not. But this will lead to some dialogue to find out if what you do might be a fit to solve a prospect's biggest problem. Ready for objections. Every cold call you make will have at least one objection. Not interested. We're all set. We have a vendor. Send me an email. How did you get my number? Never call me again. Is this a sales call? They will have an objection. You need to be ready for these objections. And you're ready because you're role playing at the start of the day for 15 to 20 minutes tops. That's all you need to get ready for those objections. And also, have the objection handlers out on your desk. I can't tell you how many times, guys, I've got hit with an objection that I've heard 1,000 times, but my mind went blank. I looked down at my piece of paper. That's how I handle it. I handle it, and I move the conversation forward and book a meeting. It's happened so many times, but you need to be ready for objections. They're going to happen. Friendly, chill tone. Don't take this whole thing too seriously. Qualifying close-ended questions. You might be thinking, most sales coaches, trainers, say don't use close-ended questions, use open-ended questions. On discovery calls, use open-ended questions. On cold calls, shy away from open-ended, gear your questions towards close-ended questions. Because you need to direct that prospect and lead that conversation. You can do a much better job of that with close-ended than using open-ended. And you're gonna end your cold calls, if you wanna book a conversation with a prospect, if there might be a potential fit, you think you could solve a problem for them, there's been some dialogue with a no-oriented, low-pressure call to action. That might sound like this. Chris, it sounds like there's a bit of interest here. Would you be opposed to giving this a look in the next couple weeks. Who knows, maybe there's a few things that we do that might not be on your radar to accomplish XYZ. Something as simple as that. Would you be opposed? People feel safer saying no, then yes. Before you hit connect, a LinkedIn prospecting checklist, your profile. This should not have to be said, but you need a professional headshot. I'm tired of seeing people on LinkedIn with a headshot that was clearly cropped of a picture that was taken at a wedding they attended. Don't do that. This is LinkedIn. This isn't Hinge. This isn't a dating profile, Tinder, Facebook, Instagram. It's LinkedIn. It's professional. Elevator pitch headline. Look at these two headlines here, guys. Which one do you think would resonate more with a potential prospect? Account executive at Gong, or spending hours setting up your devices, worried about your employees using their phones and computers the right way, safe from cyber threats? Read this profile. Now, I might be a little bit biased because the second one is from yours truly. But this is a golden opportunity to sell yourself, to stand out on LinkedIn, to stand out in a prospect's inbox. The headline is the first thing they're gonna see after your professional headshot. Turn your summary into a story. Have some fun with your summary. Don't take this whole thing too seriously. I know it's LinkedIn, but have some fun, entertain, be informative. Talk about the challenges you solve for prospects and add some personality to your summary. Now, do not do what the current Starbucks CEO, former Chipotle CEO, did with his LinkedIn summary. He wrote his in the third person. That just comes across like you're not a human being. Like this is like above you, all right? Never do that. So if that's you right now, please stop watching this video and rewrite your LinkedIn summary in the first person. An eye-catching banner image. This is my banner image I've had for the last 3 years. I got it made from a freelancer on Fiverr. They did a great job because I can't do anything like this, but they can. It adds a bit of oomph to my LinkedIn profile. I would encourage you guys to invest 15 to 30 bucks in getting a professional banner done that shows your personality and adds some oomph to your LinkedIn profile. Zero buzzwords like the cold emails. We already talked about that. Applies here for LinkedIn profiles as well. And a relevant featured section. So the featured section sits right below your summary. And this allows you to highlight some of your favorite content that you've posted on LinkedIn. Maybe it's a case study. Maybe it's a video. It's a written post. It's a picture. You can see what I have here, and these should be geared and focused on your prospects. It's gonna be the first thing they see after the summary. Now for prospecting. Is the prospect active on LinkedIn? Do they have a profile picture? As you can see here, my brother, if we were prospecting him, he has a profile picture, but he hasn't commented on anything on LinkedIn in 3 months. He hasn't posted anything on LinkedIn in a year. It doesn't look like my brother spends any time on LinkedIn. And if I could get the sense that they don't spend time on this platform, why am I gonna waste any of my time prospecting to them? I'm only gonna prospect the people on LinkedIn that are active on LinkedIn. That is key. If they're active, I'm gonna send a blank connection request. No message. That is right. Send without a note. And I think what happens here, guys, is most people include a note, and in that note, it can come across salesy, and they know a sales pitch, they're about to be pitch slapped by a salesperson on LinkedIn. Therefore, they don't accept it. Send a blank connection request to get your connection requests accepted. Now, if a prospect accepts your LinkedIn connection request, you're either gonna send a video message or a voice note. That's right, we are not sending boring written messages like every other salesperson sends to a prospect. That prospect that just accepted your connection request, they got 20 boring written pitch slap messages this week. A voice note, a video message, they haven't gotten a single one of those. That's gonna look very different in their DM inbox. It's gonna stand out, it disrupts the pattern. That's what we're going for here. The structure for a good voice note or a video message follows the structure of a cold email. 30 seconds or less. If you want to go to 45, you could do that. Start with an observation. Tie that observation to a challenge they might have by reading their LinkedIn profile, their company, their industry. Offer a perspective of a better way in a short statement with no buzzwords in language you would use if you were talking to your dad. And you want to end with something like open to learning more, an interest-based CTA. Bonus checklist for you guys before you sign off, an end of day checklist, reflection. You want to write these things down in a journal. One win from the day, big or small, it doesn't matter. There's a win in every day, even if it's a bad day, write it down. One lesson learned, often through failure, that's okay. Maybe you had a cold call, the cold call went poorly. Why did it go poorly? What can we learn from that cold call to make sure that mistake I made on that call doesn't happen again or doesn't happen a lot in the future. Write that down. Performance against activity metrics. I set out today to make 50 cold calls. Did I make those 50 cold calls? If I didn't, why? What happened that threw me off of that goal? Performance against quota metrics, obvious. Preparation for tomorrow. Now this is key. This is what separates the good SDRs from the great SDRs who promote quickly. Prospecting list is ready to go. You cannot be coming into the office and spending an hour and a half figuring out who you're cold calling that day. You need to come in. These are the people I'm cold calling. My 50 people I'm cold calling today, they're loaded up in a sequence, in a cadence, in my CRM. I'm calling them for the right reasons. They fit my ICP. I'm not wasting time. Outreach strategy for each prospect. We're going to call, email, we're going to send direct mail, LinkedIn, have that all mapped out. I'm going to commit to activity metrics for the next day, and I'm going to commit to quota metrics for the next day. I'm not leaving my desk until I book a meeting because I need to book this meeting to be on pace to hit my quota. Guys, I hope these checklists help you out. Put them around your computer. I used to have them around my computer. Shout out to Kyle Coleman, who inspired these checklists. I'll link his LinkedIn in the description below, and you can also gain access to these checklists in the description below for free. Thank you so much for watching. If there's anything I missed in any of these checklists that should be added, let me know in the comment section below, and I hope it helps you guys out. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you.